hi everybody. We're going to get started here. My name is Graham Stoner, and I'm on the media and entertainment team here at Spectra, and I'll be moderating today. So today we'll be talking about the integration between the CatDV asset management tool and Spectralogic's BlackPearl environment. So most of our jobs in the M&E space can be traced back to creating and monetizing quality content. But we rather live in a world these days where deleting content is kind of becoming a thing of the past. So effectively, archiving is becoming more and more critical in our organizations. And considering that we're shooting with more and more cameras and increasing resolutions and frame rates, especially effectively managing that video content securely and indefinitely has become a real challenge for a lot of folks. So with that in mind, Spectralogic, we've teamed up with CatDV Asset Management, and we've paired up CatDV's Asset Management and Spectralogic's BlackPearl environment to provide a cost-effective, simply deployed, self-maintaining solution for your active video archive. So today you'll be hearing from Dave Clack, who's the CEO of CatDV, and Jeff Bronstein, who's the developer evangelist at Spectralogic, and I'll let Jeff explain his title a little more fully there. But we'll be digging into the attributes of CatDV and BlackPearl a little bit separately, and basically tying them together and explaining the joint integration between the two. So if you guys have any questions as we're going on, please use the Q&A field at the bottom of your text box at the bottom of your WebEx window. We're going to keep everybody on mute because we all know what happens when we don't do that. So we'll be monitoring those questions real time. If you have any qualifying questions, Dave and Jeff, if you don't notice, I may interrupt you, and I apologize for that. But we should hit those as they come. But if they're just general questions, we will hit them at the end here. But please do feel free to send them in real time whenever you think of them. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Dave Clack here, CEO of CatDV.
Very good. Thank you, Graham. So let me get going. And first of all, I'd like to say thank you to everybody that's taken time to join us today. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to hear about our integration. As Graham said, we're quite excited about the two sets of products working closely together. So we'll just try and whiz through why we think they're such a great match and how they can really help transform media workflows. Okay. So if you can move the slide one for me. So I'm going to just do a very quick overview about, what is CatDV, why does it exist, what kind of things does it do for those folks who maybe haven't come across us before. So if you've ever heard people talking about stuff like MAM or PAM, media asset management or production asset management, or media workflow logistics, well, that's the kind of product category that we exist in. Essentially, what does it mean? Well, CatDV helps organizations find, reuse, and manage their valuable media content. And it's fairly simple. Everybody these days is creating more and more media and is using it to engage their stakeholders in a variety of kind of new and unusual ways compared to only a few years ago. And CatDV really helps to bring order to that kind of chaos. Okay, so why do we think we exist? What's the problem we solve? Well, actually, can we go back a little one? So the market landscape. Yeah, so this is some interesting market research that we've seen being created by a couple of agencies, and they've tried to get a feel for how much time people spend managing their media assets. So number one, important stuff is scattered through the organization. So that won't be surprising. I've been to so many facilities with so many NASs on shelves or external drives on shelves or tapes which have bad labeling, all thrown into a storage cupboard somewhere. So important assets are scattered through the organization, and people spend a lot of time managing them. One survey said 1 to 6 hours a week. Another one said 1 in every 10 hours for a creative professional. And the Aberdeen group tried to put some financial measurement on that. And then the one I like particularly is people are searching and looking for media quite a lot, 83 times a week. But the interesting thing then is folks fail to find it more than a third of their time. And so what do? They'll end up reshooting media and having costly rework, essentially. So that's kind of when the bill comes in. So people are wasting time, they're wasting money, they're wasting talent in their team, and they're creating a whole pile of stress. So what does CatDV do to actually help in those, tackle those challenges? Three key things: organize, collaborate, and automate. Still fairly generic, so let's talk about those in a tiny bit more detail. So we help folks to get organized, searching, and probably more important, finding content so that it can be reused or shared with the right folks at the right time in the right place. We allow folks to be able to enrich the metadata that might have come from the camera or from the creation process. So we get folks that can log and tag within CatDV. And then we can provide a really cool window onto storage. So a lot of people use CatDV as a way to be able to keep track of what's on primary fast storage for editing, what's on more general purpose, still spinning storage, what goes into archive, deep archive, whether that's stored on a BlackPearl or LTO or Amazon S3 or any of the other new cloud providers out there. So a lot of organizational stuff in CatDV. And by keeping things in a single place, then we open up a big pile of collaboration. So teams in different locations around the globe can share content, can share status, and they get a single view of the truth, whether that's on an internal network or over some kind of internet connection. And then finally, automation. So with automation, just saves time, saves money, and it brings consistency and so accuracy. So CatDV does a big pile of automation. We have a product called the Worker, which is an automation engine, sits behind the scenes, which can ingest, move, secure content, and is really the hub for us to be able to integrate with other products and services. So organize, collaborate, automate, key things that CatDV does real well. So then we also recognize that folks involved in the media management process, whether that's kind of creation or reuse or search, they have different needs. And so we have a variety of different ways for people to interact with their media assets. And so here's just a couple of screenshots of our, what we call Web 2, which is our YouTube-like, simple, accessible, web browser-based asset management technology. And that runs clearly on things like tablets and soon phones as well, so that it can really be used in a mobile fashion. We can move on, yeah. And then other folks in the content creation process have other needs. And so this is actually a screenshot from Adobe Premiere. So this isn't a CatDV product out of the gate, but what you can see is here's a CatDV panel that's putting the power of CatDV search and organization and automation right into the middle of the creative process. So folks who are bringing content into Adobe Premiere can use CatDV from their familiar tool without having to go and open up CatDV to push content into it. So we have some great collaboration tools for content creators. And then I think one of the jewels in our crown is our desktop, our installed client. So it's quite unique in this kind of market. We have a powerful installed client. You can take it out onto the road. It has some pretty unique capabilities for being able to play camera content natively, and is a real powerhouse when it comes to managing media, transcoding media, ingesting media, enriching media with custom metadata. Oh, if we can move past that one. We do support creative workflows, but I think I'd like to talk about what makes it kind of different and unique. So, so CatDV is simple and powerful at the same time. So there's plenty of products out there that are simple and limited, and quite a few out there that are powerful and overly complicated. We have spent a huge amount of engineering time and creativity making a product that's not only simple to use, but it's not going to run out of runway when your workflow grows or becomes more sophisticated. I mentioned a couple of these unique features of ours, particularly our desktop client lets us play camera formats natively and allows us to work online or offline. In fact, a big use of CatDV is in the nature documentary area, where you might be in the middle of an ocean or a desert when there's no connection to a server possible. Well, that's fine with CatDV. do all your work locally and then plug into a server when you next go online. Another thing that makes CatDV unique is the kind of start small and grow model. So CatDV can handle smallish systems with a few 100,000 assets, but it scales right up to handling millions of assets, large workflows, lots of users, and all of that stuff. We're very flexible in terms of workflow, in terms of deployment, and in terms of integration, cloud, on-premise, hybrid, Mac, Windows, Linux. And we're safe. So I think it's fair for us to claim to be the industry pioneer. So CatDV has been in the market for more than 15 years. I have to say it's pretty unrecognizable from that first version. But at the same time, we have been the industry pioneer. So we have a large number of enterprise customers using our network solutions, probably 20,000 deployed seats of CatDV around the globe. And we've learned how to deliver strong solutions, how to get deployment right, and how to make support work for our customers. Okay, and all of that means that we're pretty successful in a wide range of industries. And so I guess, our history's been around in the networks and the traditional production and post teams. But as the market's really opened up and folks have more channels to release their content on internal WANs or YouTube, Facebook, then folks across the whole range of industries can make use of CatDV's powerful management technologies. And so we've become very successful in the sports world, education, non-profit, corporate, and really the list goes on, because everybody is using media and video media to try and engage their stakeholders. So pretty much any vertical can make use of CatDV. And then folks say, well, okay, what might my kind of pain points be? How might I realize whether CatDV might be able to help me out? Well, if any of these things are kind of true to you, then CatDV might well be able to help out. So if you're having trouble managing your storage, so you've got some expensive primary storage that's full, or you're running out of space on the SAN, you want to manage a tiered storage model better, contents scattered around on external drive, well, CatDV can help with that. Or maybe you've got key individuals that actually are the search engines for your media in your organization. We hear this all the time. You have to go and talk to a specific person that knows how to navigate the cupboard with media in it, or the different content that's owned by different people throughout an organization in order to be able to find it and reuse it. And we've seen lots of folks put CatDV in and either found they've bought the same piece of stock footage multiple times, or that find that they know they've got the content, but they just can't find it and they end up reshooting, which is enormously expensive. And then other folks, they want to be able to preview stuff even when it's offline. Well, CatDV can do that really well with proxy workflows and by storing thumbnails in its own system, so that even when the original content is unavailable, you can still get a good sense of what's going on in the content. And then fourthly, I guess, folks are realizing that this content is hugely valuable. And how do they unlock that? How do they take the content out of maybe media production teams and share it with PR departments or with marketing teams or with sports scientists, if it's a sports organization, to help them win games? So how do we share those assets across the organization and even outside? So those are all the kind of things that CatDV can really help with. Which brings us to BlackPearl. So with CatDV, here's a typical workflow that shows us being able to take content, ingest it, use it for some kind of creative editorial process, enrich the metadata a little bit, and then importantly, to be able to safely store that content on a device like a BlackPearl, and then be able to restore it back to primary storage or even secondary storage at the point that it needs to be used for. And we are really pleased to be the first certified BlackPearl solution approved by Spectra, and yeah, it's a very exciting time for us, I guess, kind of why we're here talking. Now, I think pretty much lastly, I think my last slide really just tries to show how simple the integration is with BlackPearl. And we can use our CatDV web or install clients to be able to handle a whole pile of archive functions that control the BlackPearl technology. And here's a couple of screenshots. When we install our plugin, we add a couple of 5 new menu items to our desktop client and our web client. that allows us to schedule backups and restores and purge files and manage the integration itself. And then we have a job queue that's easily visible both within the desktop and the web client view here, which just shows what kind of activities the integration is doing at a time. So we've tried to keep it really simple for the end user. Clearly behind the scenes, we're making good use of all of the great tools that are provided as part of the BlackPearl API, as well as the CatDV APIs. But essentially, so that's really kind of the end of the CatDV section. I hope I've been able to give a bit of a flavor for the kind of things that we can do with CatDV, the kind of power that we can unlock with CatDV and BlackPearl together, and how simple it is to use the products in tandem. So at this point, I think I should hand over to Jeff, who can tell us some more about BlackPearl.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Dave. Graham, can you move to the next slide? So before I get started, I realize we may have some people who aren't familiar with SpectraLogic on the call. So just a quick background, SpectraLogic's been in business for over 36 years. We're privately held. We're based out of Colorado in the United States. We also have offices in the UK and Australia. We have about 450 employees. I like to call us the little big company. So we really have a culture of more like a small company. We all know each other well, and we really pride ourselves on support. We have award-winning support, and we always help customers resolve issues, even if sometimes it turns out it's not related to our hardware. So you've heard Dave mention this product, BlackPearl. How does it work, and what solutions and pain points does it address? Well, traditionally, when you've had software, asset management software, and you've wanted to archive to some type of deep storage like SpectraLogic makes, you need to have some software in the middle. People call it data mover software, third-party software, middleware, whatever. But that's made things pretty complicated, because then you end up with essentially three players, right? You've got your asset software, the middleware, and your archive. So that's really made the costs go up. You need more equipment, more modules. The licensing goes up. Oftentimes, that middleware software charges based on the amount of data that you're archiving. So that can really make the cost go up, and the cost actually is often on an annual basis. So trying to scale, really, you get penalized quite a bit with the additional cost. And of course, it just makes it more complex to purchase, to install, having your team have to learn all those different software, all those different solutions, working with the different vendors on the support. And then typically also the middleware software products tend to write, when they write to the archive, they write in a proprietary format, which makes it more difficult to share and distribute the software, the video, and it also makes it more difficult to migrate. So you don't really have a future-proof solution. So really, obviously what we would like to do is eliminate some of that complexity. And so we've come up with a way to do that. And what we're looking for is to have that asset software talk directly to the archive system. Graham, if you could go ahead to the next slide. So this is what the new archive model looks like. So on the top now, you've got your asset management software, whatever step you've got, in your M&E workflow. And instead of having that middleware, you talk directly to the archive solution. So everything below the orange arrow is now provided by SpectraLogic, a single vendor. So what we've done is we've created a gateway to our archive system we call BlackPearl, and we're able to have our software vendors talk directly to that, including CatDV, of course. So this really simplifies the workflow, and it also reduces the network congestion because there's less back and forth with all these different software. And it's going to reduce your vendors, your support, your complexity, and really reduce the cost, right? You don't have this middleware software now that you're paying on a capacity basis. You're simply paying for the capacity of your storage itself. And this really, in the M&E workflows works really well, especially now we have tape libraries behind BlackPearl, and you can either keep those tapes in the tape library or you can take them off-site to have another copy for redundancy. Go ahead, Graham. Next slide, please. So continuing this, what we've done with this gateway is we've been able to really provide what we call object storage. And for those, you've probably all heard that buzzword, but essentially for what we care about for our here with CatDV is object storage really simplifies things. It creates a flat space, so you don't have the concept of folders and managing and knowing where things are, which is, of course, something that CatDV also addresses very well. But the concept of BlackPearl with object storage, everything is flat, and it's essentially infinitely scalable. We have tape libraries that start in the tens of terabytes and go up to exabytes of storage. So we have essentially unlimited scale capacity with this model. We also have the ability to store in multiple targets. We can set policies. We just set them once, and we don't have to worry about them again. And we can do things like make 2 copies to your of your file to tape, and take one off. Have one copy automatically ejected when the tape is full, so that you can take it off-site. Or maybe you also want a copy sent to one of your faster archive targets, such as these nearline disk solutions we have. That would allow you to get to the data more quickly. And a good workflow with that would be if, let's say, you have files that you want to access more often, say in the first 90 days that you archive them. You could have them go on to your faster nearline disk solution for the first 90 days, and after that they expire and are simply on tape. So there's lots of different ways you can set up the policies, but they're very simple to set up, and once they're set up, you don't really have to think about it. Go ahead, Graham. Thanks. So in our hybrid storage ecosystem for Spectra Logic, we will always have and continue to support this idea of having the data mover software from our software partners' solutions. And we'll also, over on the left, you can see we have networked attached storage, and all of our vendors, including CatDV, can talk to that networked attached storage with just a simple file system type interface. But with BlackPearl, we've really changed the game here. And what you can see now is this BlackPearl object storage gateway is really the center of our world here. And so now we are able to migrate everything from the various sources over into BlackPearl, whether it be from something like CatDV or our file system interface, which can also now archive. The green box you see on the left, our networked attached storage called Verde. It can also archive to BlackPearl and use our archive targets. And we also have many free and open source clients that are available to do simple migration of data back and forth through this gateway. Go ahead, Graham, add a couple more if you would. So what we use is we use a very simple data policy engine called Advanced Bucket Management. That's the top-level container in the object storage world, kind of like a folder. And on that, you can set your data policies to set how many copies you want on each storage medium and for how long you want it to last. So like I was saying, a common use case may be a disk for a while, 90 days, and then after that, make a copy, or keep it on tape and then make a copy offsite. So lots of different ways you can set that up, but you set it up once. It's very easy to do in the simple web management interface, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. Go ahead, Graham, the next one. So what you've essentially created, if you've heard that term private cloud, that's essentially what BlackPearl and the objects are behind, is it creates a private cloud. In other words, it's on your premise, right? But now BlackPearl also has the ability to make copies to the public cloud. So in addition to these policies we're talking about making copies to these various archive targets like our low-cost tape and Arctic Blue disk, you could also make a copy to the public cloud. That would create an additional layer of protection. We like to call it genetic diversity, keeping your files on different types of storage. It also would be a way for you to distribute it to others via the public cloud. And see on the other on the left there, that color blue cloud, you can actually replicate. In other words, you can have a whole other set of a private cloud in another physical location, and you can replicate between the two sites so that data generated in either site can be between the two sites, which can be used for both performance improvement and also reliability in case one site were to go down. Okay, Graham, go ahead. Now the BlackPearl, what it uses when it writes to tape, most importantly, is it uses an open format we call LTFS, stands for Linear Tape File System. It's used by many vendors, and it gives you a couple levels of protection and benefit. The first is because it's an open standard, it's non-proprietary, you're not locked into a Spectra Logic tape format or anything like that, so completely open. The other benefit of LTFS is that you can then distribute and share your content with others that have the ability to read LTFS, that may be as simple as an HP LTO tape drive that somebody's got sitting on their desk, and they can stick in the tape and they can read it using a normal file system interface on their Windows computer. So easy to share and distribute that tape. The other thing we do with all of our data on tape is we do a couple things to make sure that it's safely there. We use what's called data integrity verification and also media lifecycle management. With data integrity verification, we do some tests to verify that the files have been safely written to tape. We use checksums to store them, maintain that they stay in shape. And then we also periodically read the tapes on a scheduled basis to make sure that the files that are, as we call, at rest on the tapes continue to safely reside on those tapes. Then we also have a system called media lifecycle management, which is basically, we call it the born on tape for our tapes. So we look at the tapes and we monitor their usage and see if there's any problems and keep track of how many times they've been read and written to, and can make sure that they are always safe to be used. The other thing that BlackPearl has, or will have towards the end of this year, is a feature called media migration. So one of the biggest challenges in the past dealing with tape has been moving it to a new generation. So currently we're on LTO 7. Someday we'll be on LTO 8 or LTO 9. That stands for Linear Tape Open. That's an open standard that multiple vendors make the tapes in the drives for. But the challenge has been migrating from one generation to another. As you go from LTO 5 to 7 or 7 to 9, you get bigger tapes and you get economies of scale. But moving that data over in the past has been a matter of having to actually read all the data out into a separate system and then write it back onto new tapes. With this new feature we'll be adding to BlackPearl later this year, that will be able to be done with a press of a button, and it'll all be done within BlackPearl. So my media will be able to be migrated easily from, say, 5 to 7 or 7 to 8 when it comes out without any challenges or difficulty. And that really future-proofs you, and also that's the way, we talk about tape lasting a very long time. We talk tape medium is highly reliable. It's rated by the manufacturer for 25, 30 years, but nobody ever keeps it on tapes on a single tape that long because they want to make sure that they have the latest generation, so it's faster, has more capacity, so it continues to exist, it's supported, and has drives that can be used for it. So the migration is a really important feature. Okay, go ahead, Graham. So this is in terms of the BlackPearl, and I'll let Dave add anything here after I speak, but this is kind of what the diagram looks like here. It's very simple the way BlackPearl connects. It's very easy. We just have, typically in the past with archive storage, we've had to have separate storage networks, but now with BlackPearl, you can just connect it to your normal Ethernet network, and you can, the same place that you're connecting your CatDV to and your production storage and your server, and CatDV can access that. It can use, as Dave showed in the web interface, or in the interface for CatDV, you can just choose directly to archive to BlackPearl, and it'll do that. It'll talk directly to the BlackPearl itself using the commands that BlackPearl understands from CatDV. But then also, because it's on your general network, you can now use BlackPearl to archive other things. So if you've got other workflows outside of your asset management, you could use one of our free tools like CyberDuck to just simply drag and drop files as if the archive system just looked like a regular file system interface. You can move files over and very simply archive at a very low cost, again, without that middleware software. So, Dave, do you have anything to add to this diagram?
No, I think you did a pretty good summary there. So I think some of the key things there are simplicity. So you can see from the diagram that whether you're connected with standard gigabit Ethernet, 10 gig or fiber, it just is a fairly simple deployment, and there's not all sorts of complicated plumbing required to make the solution just work. So I think we've both tried to make the solution simple but still powerful.
Exactly. Yep, simplicity is definitely the name of the game here. Easy to manage and operate, and less players, easier to support, and all that good stuff. Graham, I think that's all I've got. If I want to hand it over to you, see if there's any questions and anything else you want to add.
Yeah, guys. Well, if you do have questions, please feel free to send them on the Q&A tab on your screen. But a couple that I kind of came up with while we were sitting here. So what steps are taken by CatDV to ensure that files are safely archived to BlackPearl?
I can take that
so
one, Dave. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Go for it. No, you go first. I'll go.
I'll do it from my perspective, and you can do it from yours, and we'll cover it thoroughly. So in terms of archiving to BlackPearl, what CatDV uses is it uses what we call our software development kits that interact with the BlackPearl that have been written by Spectra Logic. So when they're using those, there's a number of things the software development kits use to ensure the files are safely written to BlackPearl, make sure that all the files got there, make sure the byte sizes match, and things like that. Once it's written over to BlackPearl, we also do a checksum of it and store that so that next time the file is accessed, we check to make sure that the checksum still matches and we still have the same file. The other thing that CatDV does is it waits if you're going to what we call purge a file. In other words, if you're going to delete it from your primary storage after you've archived it to BlackPearl, CatDV ensures that the file has safely landed on all the archive targets. So CatDV makes sure that not only has the file made it to BlackPearl, but has also made it to the ultimate storage target. Let's say tape in this case. It's been written to the tape. And then also BlackPearl has a database where it keeps track of everything that it stores and where it all points. And CatDV makes sure that BlackPearl has a safe backup of that tracking database before it allows anybody to delete the file off of the primary storage. So there's a number of steps taken to ensure that the file's safely archived.
Yeah, your answer was better than mine, Jeff. I was going to say yes, absolutely. With the Spectra SDK and the checksums and the built-in safeguards essentially in the APIs, that gives us a lot of confidence. And then also we wait in CatDV for BlackPearl to tell us that the content is safe before we let folks delete stuff via the CatDV user interface. So as Jeff said, we wait for the file to get written to its final endpoints, whether they're on tape or cloud or whatever, before BlackPearl will give us the go-ahead to say we can delete it from storage.
Awesome, thanks guys. What about accessing BlackPearl outside of CatDV? Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned a couple of clients. If you go to our BlackPearl website on spectralogic.com, you'll see some of our partner clients, and you'll see some of interest that are free and open source. We have a couple that we've built at Spectra Logic, as well as some partners we've been working with. And these tools allow for just real simple manual movements of files back and forth. If you just have workflows that you want to schedule, you can use one of our command line tools, or if you just want to simply drag and drop, like in a file system, or if you've ever used like an FTP program, we've got a couple options of those as well. And what you would do is you would create a different container, what we call a bucket in BlackPearl, that would be separate from CatDV, and that would you could set different data policy and access security on, and then you could archive things with those tools as well, completely separate. So the BlackPearl gateway really opens up the options in terms of how you archive to deep storage.
And to add to that as well, so just because we have kind of the first version of the product out there and certified and selling really well, doesn't mean that we're satisfied with that. So there's quite a number of things that we're doing to extend the functionality that's available via the integration. And one of the things that we quite often do with our archive partners is write a pile of metadata to a little XML file at the same time as the archive. And that's one of the things that we intend to do in the future. So that means that so we think we will win in this business by being open and by having a good product for asset management. We know that some of our competitors don't operate the same way, and actually it can be very difficult to get out of one of their systems. But we believe in openness, and so one of the things that is on our roadmap for the BlackPearl plugin is to be able to also write some metadata alongside the stuff that we're archiving, so that if in the future folks decide not to use CatDV, the archived content on the BlackPearl still has valuable metadata that can be read by another asset management tool in the future. So that's stuff that's kind of actively in work at the moment.
Awesome. We actually got a question in here, guys, from Andre Uber. How does this BlackPearl menu item implementation differ from other menu item implementations, say QLS Archive or Archiware?
Okay, so I'll get a little techie. And I'll kind of take a step back as well. So we have a number of partner integrations with a few of our good friends in the industry. So QLS makes some great plugin integrations for likes of Quantum and ASGeo Tempo, and North Shore makes some for things like SGL. What we decided to do is to have more of our own. And we've always had a few. We've had a kind of a basic archive to spinning disk that's fairly generic, and we had Cache going way back. But we wanted to educate ourselves more about the cloud storage market and about deep archive. And so we decided to build this one ourselves. And so technically, behind the scenes, we've invented a new queue that sits on the CatDV server, and we've implemented our plugin as a server plugin. And what that means, in kind of layman's terms, is that those menu options that we just saw on the slide, they also appear in the CatDV web client. And so it means that our archive functionality is kind of cross-platform. And some of the other archive implementations are just tied to the client. I think the QLS ones just work in the installed client, and I think the North Shore ones work with metadata, tick boxes to kick things off. So we decided that we wanted to have our own kind of architecture for archiving in general, working with tape and working with cloud more. And so we decided to build our own. It's based on the server plugin architecture, and so that means there's a queue on the server, there's things that throw things onto that queue, and then consumers that take things off that queue and process them. And so our recent archive directly to Amazon S3, which we're also going through some certification with other cloud vendors with, is based on that technology, as is the Spectra Logic BlackPearl integration.
Awesome. And great, says Andre.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Well, we could give another few seconds here, but if nobody else has any other questions, any closing remarks, Jeff or Dave?
Yeah, so I do want to mention that, particularly to our North American guests, then our distributor in North America is JB&A, Jeff Burgess and Associates, and those guys are also up to speed with the plugins, and in terms of finding out more information, including things like pricing and all that kind of good stuff, then getting in touch with the folks at JB&A, which is sales at jbanda.com, is also a great way of finding out more. Although, please, if you want to find out more, then I'm also very happy to talk about it myself.
Awesome. Jeff, anything else?
No, just, my contact info is there. Feel free to contact me. I hope everybody will take a look at this and realize the simplicity of the overall solution and the cost, the affordability of this, especially compared to other options, and take a deeper look.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. As a follow-up to this, we'll send you a copy of the recording and a joint solution brief just to kind of get a little better idea what this looks like on paper. But thanks, everybody, for joining in. Thanks, Jeff and Dave, for presenting. And everybody have a great day or night, depending on where you are.
Great. Thanks, Graham.